Deputy Murphy.
Thanks, Ken Corlin. Greece is in a state of humanitarian and economic catastrophe. It is in that state because of the austerity imposed by the Troika and implemented by New Democracy and PASOK. Wages have fallen by 37%, public sector employment by over 25%, and pensions by almost 50%. The result is an explosion of homelessness, of unemployment, of suicide, of poverty, of misery for the Greek people, and an economy that has shrunk by almost a third. The purpose of this austerity, like our own, was to bail out German and French banks. Of all of the so-called bailout funds that went into Greece, less than 10% has gone to the Greek economy. It's for that reason that the Greek Debt Truth Committee, set up by the Greek Parliament, has found the debt to the Troika to be illegal, illegitimate and odious. In response, Syriza was elected to tackle the humanitarian crisis, to end austerity and to demand a debt write-down. And the response from the EU authorities has been to try to strangle at birth the hopes of a different Europe, of a Europe that would not be run for the millionaires but instead run for the millions. The democratic wishes of the Greek people expressed in an election have been casually tossed aside by those authorities. And a key player in this has been the unelected, unaccountable European Central Bank, which previously held a gun to the head of the Irish government, demanding we go into a bailout and demanding that bondholders were not burnt.
Thank you.
It has a noose around the neck of the Greek economy in the form of restricted access to ECB funding for Greek banks, and it is using that noose to threaten the collapse of the Greek banks in order to demand the humiliation of the Greek government.
Question,
and
please.
so what did Minister Noonan, Minister of Finance, say about this noose yesterday? He lined up with the German Minister of Finance, Schäuble. He lined up and he said tighten the noose. He said tighten the noose. Don't give them any more money. Demand their humiliation. Is that the government position, Taoiseach? He stabbed the Greek people in the chest, and in so doing he stabbed the Irish people in the back. Would the Taoiseach agree finally that he and his government are putting their own party interests, the same party as Merkel, as Juncker, as Samaras, as Rajoy, ahead of the interests of the people in this country or anywhere else in Europe? That he's against the debt write-down for the Greeks, he's against an end to austerity for the Greeks, not because that's in the interests of people in this country, but because it wouldn't be in the interest of his party. Whereas, on the contrary, we share the same interest. The 99% in this country share the same interest as the 99% in Greece for debt write-down and an end to austerity.
Well, I reject your speculative comments on leaks from the Euro group. The Minister for Finance has been consistently very clear in his support for growth-related proposals from Greece. Now, I was at the meeting last night with the Prime Minister and the other leaders from the Eurozone countries, and I have to say to you, Deputy, that the feeling of that meeting was unanimous in that there should not be, under any circumstances, an exit by Greece from the Eurozone. Leaders, as they have done previously, were very clear in their support, in their encouragement and in their assistance for the Greek Prime Minister and for his government. I make the point that the Prime Minister himself spoke very positively about the current situation. He said that the new proposals that were on the table from Greece went very much in the right direction towards both meeting the principles and indeed the objectives and the targets that were set by the institutions. Clearly there's a gap between these two at the moment. but the Prime Minister was very clear that it's his intention to be able to come to a conclusion on these negotiations this week, so that the matter can be dealt with, and that Greece can continue to be a strong member of the Eurozone. He did point out the situation insofar as pensions were concerned, early retirement, reduction of debt, and the issues that his government had put on the table. The institutions responded to that, I have to say, in a way that today and tonight, both the principals of the institutions, 2 government ministers from Greece, and conference calls as necessary be put in place so that discussions can conclude on this matter. I would say to you, Deputy, that the outcome of this has to be one that is fair, one that makes economic sense, and one that is sustainable from a financial point of view. The Prime Minister himself was very clear that he wants his country to be able to pay its way, to contribute, and in no circumstances to leave the Eurozone. So, from your point of view, you want to continue on speculation. That's your prerogative. I'll give you a direct report from the meeting itself of all of the leaders of the countries of the Eurozone, including both the contribution made by the Prime Minister of Greece in the first instance and his summing up of it afterwards. Everybody hopes, Deputy, that this matter can be dealt with by the weekend.
Deputy Murphy, 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Ciaran Corla. Taoiseach referred to speculative comments. I'll quote from the Financial Times. Germany's Wolfgang Schäuble and Michael Noonan, his Irish counterpart, pushed for curbs on emergency liquidity for Greek banks unless capital controls were imposed, one of the officials said. Translated, that means tighten the noose, make them scream, bring them to their knees, humiliate them. That's what it means. So I'm going to ask the Taoiseach to conform to I think it was answering questions fully and completely was what you said a couple of weeks ago, and just ask, is that the position of the Irish government? Attempting to put pressure on the ECB, a supposedly independent institution, to squeeze the Greeks further in order to pressurise them to do a deal which is not the deal that they want to do. I just finally remind the Taoiseach of back to June 2012, when he came back with the Taoiseach, like Chamberlain declaring peace in our time with the announcement of a seismic shift, that we're going to get a deal on the debt that has since been quietly shelved, and instead the Irish government has joined the chorus with Germany that there will be no debt write-offs. It's in the interests of working people, the majority in this country, that Greece gets a debt write-down. It's in their interests that we join with the Greeks and demand a debt write-down for all of the unsustainable debt. Why does the Taoiseach continue and persists in simply backing up the Angela Merkel pro-austerity line so he can get a few more pats on the head?
Well, again, I reject your assertions of any comments made by our Minister for Finance at the Eurogroup meeting. So don't believe everything you read in the Financial Times is the message there. Now, I'd point out to you that the European Central Bank is completely independent of governments. They have given 87 billion in emergency liquidity to Greece. 87 billion. And Mr Draghi, for his part, said that in their independence, because this is a Eurozone, ELA has been continued on the assumption that negotiations would conclude and a deal can be done. And that's why, as the programme ends this weekend, it's very important, Deputy Murphy, that the principals of the institutions now discuss in a rational way with the representatives of the government of Greece the conclusion that's necessary. I would say to you that the Prime Minister himself said that not everything about his government is absolutely positive, but he did say that his government are in a position to achieve social consent. And I think that's an important element, given that you could have very serious consequences were there to be a collapse of the situation. Now, I don't expect that's going to happen, All of the leaders there were
Thank you.
very unanimous in that regard. So I do hope, Deputy Murphy, that today and tonight and tomorrow, I expect there will be another meeting of the Eurogroup Ministers of Finance tomorrow evening, which may go on for some time, and then there's the European Council meeting itself on Thursday and Friday. It may not be necessary to get that far, but clearly when arrangements like this are put in place, they have to be endorsed by, for instance, the parliaments of Finland or the Netherlands or Germany, and therefore there's a need to structure that in a way that will allow for the bailout and the bail programme to end positively. So I hope that the discussions that take place now with the institutions and the government of Greece can have that positive outcome. Finally, I say to you that the Prime Minister is the elected Prime Minister, and he has a mandate from his government.
Sorry, we're way
but
over
like
time.
all of these things, they require discussion and negotiation, and we hope in everybody's interest that that can be concluded positively.
Thank you. That completes